Okay, we are back, and I just wanted to do a video here on the announcement and release of the new Surface devices, the new Surface Pro 12 and the Surface Laptop 13. Now, these are in addition to the line that already includes a 13.8-inch Surface laptop and a 15-inch laptop. And of course, the Surface Pro comes in a 13-inch flavor with an OLED option as well. But of course, these are more budget-oriented devices that sacrifice some key features that I think are missing. But overall, will they bring good value? Will they bring something to the table? And the big question is, why is Microsoft releasing this, especially with the Snapdragon X Plus processor, right? So there are some issues with that in terms of compatibility. Hopefully things will be getting better. They have been getting better, but there is some driver issues. Gaming is still not viable on it, at least in my opinion. And I really like the processor. I think it's powerful. I think it's efficient. It's got great battery life. If you stick to the basics, it's a wonderful processor. But you're going to run into trouble when you try to run highly specialized software. And then, of course, you will have some compatibility issues with x86 apps and the like. So we've covered that ad nauseum here on the channel. But I wanted to see and take a look at these new ones. Now, I did order a Surface Pro 12. That has just been announced. And I ordered a Surface Laptop 13, again, a smaller version, presumably replacing the Surface Laptop Go. So it's a pretty interesting device. Again, they did cut some corners on it. There are some omissions. They made some changes to the ports. We'll talk about that and a whole lot more. So we'll talk about whether or not this is a viable option in the Surface line with these new additions. Hey everybody, it's Andrew, and we're going to talk about the Surface Laptop 13 and the Surface Pro 12 that has just been announced, running the Qualcomm Snapdragon X processor coming up. All right, we're going to start off with the Surface Pro 12 that was just announced. Now, I'm going to tell you a disclaimer. I was not provided any review units. I did not go hands-on with it. I know some publications were sent to Microsoft and they were able to go hands-on with that. I was not invited for whatever reason. I got hundreds of thousands of views on the last release, Surface Laptop for Business, Surface Pro for Business. So it's okay. I'm not upset about it. We can get our bird's eye view. We can get a comparison from what's been released to what is upcoming. And I did order a Surface Pro 12 and I did order a Surface Laptop 13. That is coming on release day, which should be around May 19th. So we're going to be a couple of weeks away. So let's get right into it. We're going to start off with the Surface Pro 12. This one is the Surface Pro 13. Now, this has the LCD panel, 120 hertz, 3:2 aspect ratio. We also looked at the OLED. That's a great option. I'll leave links for my review in the description below. They come with the optional keyboard cover and the pen, right? The Slim Pen 2, all that. We've seen it before. And I will tell you, I'm a big fan of the keyboard and the pen. It's worked out really well. It's a Carpenter style pen. We've shown it a million times here on the channel. That being said, what can we expect with the new Surface Pro 12? Well, we're going to get a smaller 12-inch display as opposed to 13-inch. We're going to get a lower refresh rate. This is 120 in terms of the hertz. That will be 90 hertz. So it's definitely going to be lower refresh rate and lower resolution. We'll have a lower resolution than this one, slightly lower. Not a huge deal because you are at a 12-inch display. I don't think you'll notice a huge difference, but it is definitely a lower resolution. Now, the other difference between these two displays, in addition, the keyboard cover, which we know on this one, is a little bit different. They don't call it a type cover anymore. They're calling it a keyboard. Comes in the different variants with the new colors we'll talk about in a moment. That keyboard is $149, and I think if you add the Slim Pen, you also can add a bundle, and I think that's like $250. But I'll leave links for everything in the description below where you can pre-order it. Again, I did pre-order a keyboard for the new Surface Pro 12 as well as the Surface Pro 12. Now, there is going to be some different colors. There's violet. There's a color called Ocean, and you can see here, and let me show you. So this is the violet. This is the Ocean. and this is the Platinum, right? So the Platinum will start at $799. I think the two new colors are $100 more, and then with the Platinum, I think that's going to start at $799, which is a decent starting price, although we'll have to factor in $150 for the keyboard, and the pen will add some more to that. So it does get a little bit of expensive. Now, contrast to the colors we saw on the Surface Pro 13 that we looked at, which comes in the Sapphire, the Dune, the Black, and of course the Platinum, right? So that's for the consumer facing. We also talked about the Surface Pro for business, which has only the Black and the Platinum, right? And that comes with the Lunar Lake processor. Here we're talking the Qualcomm Snapdragon processors. Now, here's the difference in processors. As you can see, the Snapdragon X Plus on the new Surface Pro 12, which is 8 cores. We've seen it before. We looked at it on a few different models. So it's not going to be as powerful as the X Elite that we looked at on the OLED model on the Surface Pro 13 and the X Plus, which I have here on the 10 cores that it has. So 2 extra cores on this Surface X Plus model. So that is one key difference. They're claiming 2 extra hours of battery, 16 versus 14. We'll talk about battery and we'll do our own testing. We're looking at a 1080p full HD camera. 1440p is what we have currently on the Surface Pro 13. They're very good cameras. I don't think I'm going to find it too much of a difference between the two. Again, I'm not too worried about that. Now, as far as the weight, they're starting at 1.5 pounds versus the 1.97 pounds. And again, this is without the keyboard. Add in some weight for the keyboard. So it's slightly lighter. Again, it is a smaller device, 13 versus 12. The new one is 12, obviously. And then, of course, the Slim Pen is an option which you put into the keyboard. Now, one thing you can't do is on the new one, you can't store it on the keyboard. It'll store on the back, as we'll see in a moment. But here, you can see on the Surface Pro here that I have right here, this one stores and charges within the keyboard cover. And of course, they also had that Flex Pro or the Pro Flex cover that also stores the pen, right? So that's one. And then, of course, it gives you the raised typing angle. You don't get that on the new one here for 2025 with this new Surface Pro 12. Now, as far as getting back to the specs here, what else can we expect here? There are some changes into the different ports here. So now you no longer get the Surface Connect port. You now only get 2 USB Type-C. They're 3.2 Gen 2. So it's not USB 4. That is one big miss, I think, on Microsoft's part here. Whereas you get 2 USB-C ports, which are USB 4 on the Surface Pro with the Surface Pro 13, right? And then, of course, the Surface Connect port seems to be going away. So we don't get that on this new version with the Surface Pro 12. So that is some key differences there. So definitely a resolution change there. See the full specs here. We can go down to see what the display resolution is. And as you can see here, it is 2196 by 1464. That's a 3:2 aspect ratio. They're claiming 1200:1 contrast ratio and 90 hertz display. Of course, 60 hertz will be out of the box, but you can enable it in the settings to 90 hertz. Whereas the Surface Pro 13 that we looked at, especially with the OLED, 2880 by 1920. We looked at it. Is absolutely gorgeous. Refresh rate up to 120 hertz. It's a dynamic refresh rate. And the one I have here with this LCD panel is 2880 by 1920, but that one is LCD as opposed to OLED. And again, that same dynamic refresh rate up to 120 hertz. Now, a couple of things to note about the displays. Now, the OLED display we looked at on the Surface Pro 13 can go up to 900 nits in HDR, 600 nits standard dynamic range. The LCD panel, 600 nits standard dynamic range and 600 nits HDR. So that is what you're going to get on that one. Whereas the new one is only standard dynamic range. It's not HDR, and it has a maximum of 400 nits. So definitely you're not going to get as a premium amount of features on the new Surface Pro 12. That is pretty much what we can expect. So a new keyboard, lower resolution, lower refresh rate, slightly lower price, right? So starting at $799, but again, you have to factor in the pen and the keyboard, which I think are must-have accessories. So it's a really, I don't know if it's necessarily worth it until I get one in. We'll have to see. And what do you think about the violet color? What do you think about the ocean color in addition to the platinum that they're offering with this new device? So let me know in the comment section below. All right, let's talk pricing on the Surface Pro 12 with a price of $799. That's just for the tablet alone. That would be this portion. And as you can see here, with that platinum color, it's $799. But if you go up to the ocean, it goes up to $899, adds a 512 gigabyte SSD versus the 256. So that starting price of $799 only gives you 256. And by the way, I don't think there's any way to get inside this like you do on this Surface Pro 13, which has a little latch that you can open up to change out that M.2 2230 SSD. So I would definitely not get the entry-level model here for the 256 simply because you won't be able to upgrade the storage. And I think 256 gigabytes in 2025 is simply not enough. You need a minimum of 512, preferably 1 terabyte. Now, they don't offer a 1 terabyte. You'll have to go to the 512, and that means you'll have to go you can get it in the platinum, but if you do go the ocean, it starts at $899 with that 512 gigabyte SSD. Now, they all have 16 gigabytes, thank God. No 8 gigabyte option here. So that's the ocean. And then, of course, you can go with the violet, also $899. But let's say the ocean, that's the one I picked. That's going to have the 512 gigabytes. Now, here's the other thing. They're not offering a power charger here, a power supply, right? So you'll have to add in another $69 for the USB-C wall charger, although I'm not going to choose that, but I'll, in my own use, I don't need it, obviously, because there is no Surface Connect, but I have plenty of 45 and plus or 65 watt chargers lying around, so I don't need that. But notice how they're nickel and diming the customer here, making them pay an additional $70 for the charger. That's a bad one. I think that's terrible. Now, I don't want any additional protection at the time, but if you want it, it's there. So right now you're looking at $969.89, $899 plus the $69 for the charger, $69.99 or $70, right? Let's continue to the add-ons here. I don't need Microsoft Office, so we can say no thanks. So right now we can go to the accessories. Now, here's where it gets interesting. $149 for the slate color keyboard. Then you can also get the slate with bold key set. So there's a difference between those two. I'm not really sure what that's all about. We'll have to look into that. Also $149. I guess it's for people who have need that extra luminance, I guess, of it. I don't know. Then it's in violet here for $149. Ocean $149, and then you can get the bundle with the pen. All right, so the slate color is $249, and then of course the Surface Pro 12 with the pen. Let's add that to the cart. That's going to add another $249, and we're already at $1,219.97. So definitely not cheap when it's all said and done, especially with these must-have accessories. In my opinion, I think the pen and the keyboard are a must-have accessory. So the question I pose to you, is it worth it with the processor, with some of the compatibility issues you might have? Maybe, maybe not, depending on your workload. And then, of course, having to add the keyboard and the pen makes it over almost $1,220. So very, very expensive, I think, for what you're getting. Smaller display where, you might be able to get the Surface Pro 13 maybe at Best Buy on sale. That's going to be comparable in price, but you're getting much more for your money. So keep the eye on the links in the description below for the latest pricing and sales, because those change rapidly, seemingly day to day. And especially the way things are right now, every penny counts. Now that is the price on the Surface Pro 12. Let's now turn our attention to the Surface Laptop 13. All right, now the Surface Laptop 13 obviously has a 13-inch display, smaller. So let's take a look at some of the others we've already looked at on this channel, right? So we looked at the Surface Laptop 13.8-inch, which we did look at on the consumer version, and also on the Surface Laptop for Business running Lunar Lake. We also have here the Surface Laptop 15 running the Snapdragon X Elite. That's the one I have right here, and you can see it, this one that I'm using in Platinum. It's worked out great. Again, if you stick to the basics, it's a fantastic device. I really love the keyboard, the haptic touchpad, all that. Now, I don't know if the new one will have a haptic touchpad. My guess is they're going to save some money, and they're not going to offer it with it, so just keep that in mind. So that's going to be one key difference, and this one does have a Sentinel touchpad. I don't think the new 13-inch will have a haptic touchpad. I'd be very surprised if it did. Again, I was not invited to the event, so that's going to be an issue. Again, I won't know until I get the units themselves. Now let's turn our attention to the display here. And as you can see, it's a 13-inch touchscreen display. Now, the big difference, of course, is going to be the refresh rate, 60 hertz versus the 120 you get on the other variants. And that's disappointing. At least with the Surface Pro 12, we got a 90 hertz refresh rate. Here, we are limited to 60 hertz. I'm not sure what's going on with that. Why they did that, I don't know. Now, it also has the Snapdragon X processor, the 8 cores versus the 10 cores that we looked at on this one. Or this one actually is the 12 cores because this is the X Elite, but they're also offering a variant with the Snapdragon X Plus 10 cores, right? So that is another disappointment, getting only 8 cores versus the 10 or 12 that are possible for this. Now, the 15-inch only comes in the X Elite, so that, I believe, is the only one you can get. But as a 13.8-inch, you can get into 2 variants, the 10 and the 12. Now, they're saying 23 hours of video playback. I don't doubt it with this 8-core processor. 20 hours of video playback on the 13.8-inch. And then, of course, on the 15-inch, 22 hours of video playback. I've done videos on it. Again, links in the description below. Then they have the 1080p camera here. This one, of course, is going to be a full HD camera, but it's not going to be IR. What does that mean? Well, there's no IR camera, no face recognition like you get on the other 2 variants, which is disappointing. You'll have to use the fingerprint scanner on the keyboard. So they did that on the Surface Laptop Go, if I'm not mistaken, in the last version. So of this similar type of device. So I definitely think that's a big miss here. I wish it was a full HD IR camera, right? Though you don't get that here. But it is 1080p, and I don't doubt it's pretty decent. Now, let's talk ports here. So it does support fast charging. No more Surface Connect port, just like the Surface Pro 12. You get 1 USB Type A, which is good, but it's USB 3.1, 2 USB-C 3.2 Gen 2, not USB 4.0. Again, a big miss here by Microsoft. The other 2 ones have it, including the 15-inch, which also has a micro SD card reader. You don't get that here. We talked about Windows Hello. Fingerprint power button is the way to go. No face recognition on this one. So the Surface Laptop 13 certainly cut some corners. A little bit more in some ways, I think, than the Surface Pro 12. And then the biggest one for me is the 60 hertz as opposed to having maybe a 90 hertz. I understand not going with the 120. You don't want to cannibalize the sales of the higher end models. At the same time, I think 90 hertz should have been the minimum here. I don't see the harm of putting in a 90 hertz display. Unfortunately, 60 hertz, that's a big no-no in my book. All right, let's talk pricing on the Surface Laptop 13. And here you can see it has a starting price of $899. Let's go to the pre-order page here. And the colors are going to be the same. You got the violet, you got the ocean, and then you've got the platinum. So the platinum starts at $899. It comes in either 256 or 512. I don't know if these are upgradable. Again, I don't have one yet to test yet, so we'll get that in 2 weeks when I get my unit. And then, of course, I ordered the ocean because that's just me. I don't know why I did it, but I did it. That comes with a minimum of 512. That's $999. So you notice it went up $100 there. Same with the violet, right? So let's pick the ocean for now. We could always price it out, but I don't think anybody should get the entry level. So let's just stick to the ocean, which starts at $999, which is already expensive in my book. I don't want any additional protection. Okay, let's continue to the add-ons. And no thanks to Microsoft Office. Continue to the accessories. So here you can do the Surface Travel Hub. You can do the USB 4 dock, although there's no USB 4 on this one, but I guess that adds some things. Surface keyboard, all that stuff. I'm not adding any of this stuff. It could be nice if some of you might need it. Surface Adaptive Kit is good for certain people. So again, I don't know if I need any accessories like you do, obviously, with the Surface Pro 12. Now, I think the adapter is included here because it didn't, say it didn't come with it. It didn't offer it as an option here. So that means it's probably in the box, hopefully. So looking at $999, right? So $999 plus tax here. If you look at what the Surface laptop 13.8 inch on sale with the X Plus, it's around that area. In fact, it might even be cheaper. I don't know. I'll put the latest pricing that I saw at Best Buy to give you an idea. Maybe you should look for that one on sale because it'll have 2 more cores and it'll have better display. It'll be slightly higher resolution than this one, and it'll definitely be a better buy. So I would definitely look out for sales on the ones, the 13.8 inch, if you're in this market for a 13 inch or so a laptop device. Now, there are some other brands out there that I think you should be looking at. Asus has some competitive devices that I think are better with OLED displays. There are going to be a lot out there. Now, I'm hoping the build quality will be great in terms of the overall build like it is on these. These are some excellent builds in terms of the quality. This is an all-metal design. The metal chassis has no give or flex. Amazing haptic touchpad, which I don't think we're going to get on that laptop 13. And overall, tremendous build. So these are very durable. The platinum shows minimum amount of fingerprints. Let's see what the new colors hold up as far as fingerprints. I'm expecting the ocean to be decent, so we'll see. It's sort of like a greenish gray kind of color. But overall, I think these are not priced where I think they should be. I was hoping maybe $699 for the laptop, maybe $799 at most for the Surface Pro 12. Maybe I'm not being realistic because of the way things are in terms of the components and so forth, getting them. Of course, they're in it to make money, but I just don't see the value here. I don't see the benefit of going with the Surface Laptop 13 over, say, something like the Surface Laptop 13.8 inch, which gives you more for your money, in my opinion. Well, let me know what you think in the comment section below. And what do you think about these in general? Are you interested in these? Now, I do have them on order. I don't know if I'm keeping them. Again, I didn't get review units from Microsoft, but I think these are pretty interesting in the sense that they're trying to make something quote unquote affordable, but I think they missed the boat on some of these little things that add in there that will add to the cost of the unit. Again, let me know what you think in the comment section below. So we're going to get them into the studio in a couple of weeks, so we'll have our actual hands-on with them. I'll be doing probably live streams and, of course, my full reviews. So stay tuned. Make sure you are subscribed to the channel. And if you're a casual viewer of my content, why not hit that subscribe button? We're making our big push for 250,000 subscribers. We're almost at 220. I can't thank you enough for the tremendous amount of growth here so far in 2025. So until next time, this is Andrew, and I'll see you in the next video.